Dust swirled around Ifeoma's car as she drove. The air, thick with the coming rains, pressed against the windows. It was good to be back in the village, to smell the earth after the rain. Her mother's house, mud walls baked brown by the sun, welcomed her like an old friend. Inside, her mother bustled about, her laughter echoing through the small house.
Ifeoma, my daughter, you bring the city with you.
Her mother always said that, as if the city were a tangible thing, clinging to Ifeoma's clothes, her hair. Later, sitting on a low stool, sipping spicy pepper soup, Ifeoma listened to her mother's stories. Stories of village life, of births and deaths, of harvests and droughts. Life here moved at a different pace, slow and steady like the flow of the Niger River. Night came quickly, blanketing the village in darkness. The air, cooler now, buzzed with insects. Ifeoma lay on the mat, her mother's snores a comforting rhythm in the darkness. She thought of her life in the city, a whirlwind of meetings and deadlines. Here, in the quiet of the village, it felt a world away. Her cousin Amina arrived just as the sun began to paint the sky with hues of orange and pink. Amina, with her bright smile and quick wit, was Ifeoma's favorite cousin. She had always been fascinated by Ifeoma's stories of the city, the tall buildings and bustling streets.
Take me with you, Ifeoma. Just for a little while. Let me see the city with my own eyes.
Ifeoma hesitated. Life in the city was a constant struggle, a fight for survival. What would Amina, with her village ways, make of it? But looking into her cousin's eager face, she couldn't refuse.
All right, but life in the city is not easy. You must be prepared to work hard.
Amina's face erupted in a joyous grin.
Thank you, Ifeoma. You won't regret this. I'll work hard, I promise.
And with that, Amina's fate was sealed. She would leave the familiar rhythm of the village and step into the unknown chaos of the city. The city welcomed them with open arms, its noise and energy a stark contrast to the quiet of the village. Amina, initially overwhelmed, quickly adapted. She found work at a local market, her infectious laughter and village charm winning over customers. Ifeoma's husband, Emeka, a quiet, dependable man, welcomed Amina into their home. He treated her like a sister, helping her navigate the complexities of city life. Ifeoma's heart swelled with gratitude. She was building a life she had always dreamed of, and now she had Amina to share it with.
Welcome, Amina. This is your home now, too.
Life settled into a comfortable routine. Ifeoma, consumed by her work, was often away on business trips. She trusted Emeka and Amina completely. They were family, the only constants in her ever-changing world. Little did she know that the seeds of betrayal had already been sown, taking root in the fertile ground of her absence.
The late-night whispers started subtly, like the rustle of dry leaves in the Harmattan wind.
Neighbors, their faces etched with concern, would greet Ifeoma with knowing looks and hushed tones.
At first, she brushed it off, attributing it to idle gossip.
But the whispers persisted, growing louder, more insistent.
They swirled around her, carrying fragments of conversations, veiled accusations.
She began to notice the changes in Amina, the expensive clothes, the air of confidence that bordered on arrogance.
One day, rumors reached her ears, rumors that chilled her to the bone.
They spoke of Emeka and Amina, of late-night rendezvous and stolen glances.
Her heart pounded in her chest, a drumbeat of fear and denial.
Could it be true? Could the two people she trusted most in the world betray her in such a way?
The thought was unbearable, a bitter pill that refused to be swallowed.
The business trip couldn't end soon enough.
Ifeoma returned home a day earlier than expected, her heart heavy with suspicion.
The house was eerily quiet.
She called out for Emeka and Amina, but there was no reply.
She walked towards her bedroom, her footsteps slow and measured.
As she pushed open the door, the scene that greeted her stopped her in her tracks.
There in her bed lay Emeka and Amina, their bodies entangled in a lover's embrace.
The world tilted on its axis.
The air thickened, making it difficult to breathe.
A strangled cry escaped her lips, shattering the silence.
Emeka and Amina jolted awake, their faces etched with guilt and shame.
In that moment, the whispers, the rumors, all solidified into a painful reality.
The two people she had loved and trusted had betrayed her in the most devastating way.
The silence that followed was deafening.
Ifeoma stood there, her world crumbling around her, the pain of betrayal etching itself onto her soul.
Words failed her. What could she possibly say that would mend the shattered fragments of her heart?
Amina, her eyes downcast, mumbled apologies, her voice choked with tears.
Emeka, his face pale and drawn, could only stare at his feet, unable to meet Ifeoma's eyes.
His silence spoke volumes, a confession of guilt louder than any words.
Ifeoma turned and walked away, the image of their betrayal seared into her memory.
She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she couldn't stay there, not in the house that had once been her sanctuary, now tainted with the bitter taste of betrayal.
As she hailed a taxi, the city lights blurred into streaks of color, a reflection of the turmoil raging within her.
The city, once a symbol of hope and opportunity, now felt like a cruel stranger, indifferent to her pain.
The weight of her cousin's betrayal, the shattering of her trust, pressed down on her, threatening to suffocate her.
As the taxi pulled away, she took one last look at the house, her heart aching with a profound sense of loss.
She had journeyed to the city seeking a better life, only to find her world turned upside down by the people she had trusted most.
Now she had to pick up the pieces of her broken heart and find a way to move forward, alone.